Welcome to another edition of Grace Under Pressure, where my guest today is Hubert Joly. I will tell you all about Hubert in just a moment. Grace Under Pressure is that show that focuses on what so many people dismiss as the soft stuff, the caring, the commitment, compassion we extend toward others. And when you do it as a leader, as you will discover that Hubert is, you do it to bring people together for common cause, and you energize them with a sense of purpose. Welcome to Grace Under Pressure, Hubert Joly.
And John, I so look forward to our conversation.
Great. Let me tell folks about you. Hubert is the former chairman and CEO of Best Buy, and he's now a senior lecturer at Harvard Business School. He's a member of the board of directors of J&J, Ralph Lauren, and many other places. Is also a place in HEC in Paris, which is his native country. Hubert has been recognized as one of the top CEOs in the country top CEOs in the world by Harvard Business Review, one of the top 30 CEOs by Barron's, and one of the top CEOs of Glassdoor. And frankly, I think that Glassdoor is the most impressive because that's where employees vote. So bravo, Hubert.
Thank you, John. You're kind.
Good. So, Hubert, I have been wanting to talk to you about your newest book, Heart of Business, for a while. And I remember when the book first came out, there was an article, probably an adaptation in the Wall Street Journal. And I remember reading the article before I had the book. And I was reading about the litany of problems, and you were describing what you were going through. And I said to myself, is he crazy? I mean, why did you take this job? So when you took over Best Buy, things were bleak. So what was it like and why?
So yes, back in 2012, everybody thought Best Buy was going to die. I think we can remember this. There was zero buy recommendations on the stock. And so before I took the job, I actually did some due diligence, John, right? Because
I'm not saying you're crazy, but I'm just going, oh my gosh.
Yeah, exactly. And so what I saw is that the world actually needed Best Buy, right? As customers, for some of our purchases, it's good to be able to touch, feel the products and talk to somebody. And then the vendors, importantly, needed Best Buy because they need a place where to showcase the fruit of their billions of dollars of R&D investment. You cannot test the sound quality of a speaker online. You have to be in the room. The other thing I found, John, which was so helpful, is that while the company had many problems, right? We had strategic challenges, operational challenges, leadership challenges, they were all self-inflicted. And the good news with self-inflicted problems, I didn't need to complain, with Jeff Bezos. We could take care of them. And now, in terms of what we did, it's interesting, John. At the time, the advice I was getting from many, the investors and analysts was cut. The usual formula for turnaround.
Right.
Close stores, reduce headcount. Well, in fact, we did the opposite. We first, all of the stores were profitable. So what's the point of closing stores if they're profitable? And reduce headcounts almost indicates that people are the problem.
I'm glad you said that because so often, it's an easy thing. We cut our way to prosperity, which never works. And when you use the term headcount, and I know it reduces people to just zeros and dashes. So
the number. And so our approach was incredibly human-centric. My first week, I spent it on working in a store in St. Cloud, Minnesota, listening to the frontliners. I had 2 ears and just one mouth. I asked them what's working, what's not working, and what you need. My job was easy. Take notes, and this was the do as I was told program. So start with people. Make sure you have the right team.
I want to stop you right there because I love this formula, and we hear it so many times. When you said to a frontline employee, you as the new CEO said, "What do you need?" What was the response?
It was some incredibly simple stuff, John. The first thing, an example is, Hubert, do you know that the search engine on the site, on the bestbuy.com site, is not working? I said, what do you mean? Well, they said, type Cinderella, the movie. You'll get Nikon cameras. Oh, I think we should fix that, right?
Yeah.
Also, another thing that drove them crazy, for a variety of reasons, the board had given large stay bonuses to the senior executives as they were looking for a new CEO. And the same management team had reduced the employee discount. Not a great way to motivate people.
No, a good way to erode trust. So,
and there was many examples like this. Another one is, Noska, the store general manager, wonderful guy, told me, Hubert, look, your team is giving me 41 key performance indicators to focus on. I love you guys, right? I'll do my best to do a great job for you. But if you could simplify and, maybe a maximum of 5 would be great.
41. Yeah.
I gave him 2. I said, we only have 2 problems, right?
Yeah.
Our revenue is going down and our margin is going down. Only 2 problems. Oh, how can it be to solve 2 problems? So this kind of very simple stuff, John.
And I guess what the other part of that, and I don't want to overdwell on it, but when a senior person talks to someone on the front lines and you say, how can I, do they look at you like you're trying to trip them up, or is it a matter of gaining trust, or they're just forthcoming?
They were incredibly forthcoming. I had a badge, CEO in training.
Wonderful.
And you genuinely ask them. Now you have to listen. And then importantly, you have to do something about it. If you just listen and do nothing, your credibility goes to zero very quickly. So empathetic listening and then doing something that's a good combination to build trust, frankly.
Okay. Trust is so essential. So you've laid out the beginning of the turnaround. So, but after a couple of years, so what do you think were the key factors? I think of one of them might be purpose. Am I correct?
Well, actually, we got to purpose relatively late. Our first few years was fixing what was broken. We didn't start with purpose. We didn't start with strategy. We started with fix. So make sure prices are competitive. Make sure the site is working, that we ship as fast as Amazon so that we can neutralize Amazon. We decide to match Amazon prices, invest in the store experience, invest in the associates, do these partnerships with the world's foremost tech companies like Samsung and Sony and Apple so that they could showcase their products. And then take some costs out, but with headcount reduction as a last resort. So that's the what. But the how was actually important. Back to this human-centric approach. I think a key role we have as leader is to create energy. Sometimes we think, no, it's to come up with the right answer. Strategy is a commodity. So, it's not that hard. But in physics, John, we learned that energy is a finite quantity, right?
You learned in physics. I'm struggling.
Okay. Now, a company is a human organization, right? Made of individuals working together. And as a leader, a key job you have is to create energy. How do you create energy? Co-create the plan. Get going. Celebrate the small wins. Oh, and if something is not working, just say it. Oh, John, this initiative that you and I started, it's not really working. We need to rework that, right? So let's go back. So
I liked it. What is so inspiring when I read your book is so much of it. It's wonderful stories and it's a great read and all of those kinds of things. It's very practical, but it's very simple. And I do not say that as an aspersion, but if only we did these things, we wouldn't be where we are. So that's
and then after, so back to purpose. After 3 or 4 years, we decided that the turnaround was over, and we started to work on what do we want to look like when we grow up? How do we accelerate our growth? What kind of company do we want to become? And we did some strategy work. We segmented the market. We targeted the right segment. We did the positioning. I teach marketing now at Harvard, so we know how to do this. But the turning point was this idea of purpose. And it started with personal purpose. Sometimes people make it very, abstract. Something that everybody can do. Every quarter, we would get our executive team together for an offsite to work on the strategy, the plans. Many people do this, right? One time, I asked the executive team, so 10 people, to come to the offsite with a picture of themselves when they were little. And then over dinner, we spend the evening sharing with each other our life story and our purpose in life. Well, two things came out of that, John. One, everybody on the executive team was a human being, not just a CFO or a CHO, a quirky, messy, complicated, beautiful human being.
Mhm.
And two, with a couple of exceptions, 80% of the team, we were interested in the same kind of stuff in life. Make a positive difference in the world, the golden rule.
Okay.
And so then we said, well, we're the leadership team of Best Buy. Why don't we use the platform we have, which is Best Buy, to make a positive difference in the world and make Best Buy a company, an organization that employees will love, customers will love, the vendor partners will love, the community will love, and the shareholders, treating profit as an outcome, by the way, not the goal.
Right.
And so when we crafted our corporate purpose, and when we embarked on that second phase of our journey, it became very personal because this was our life purpose. And I think the general lesson, John, is if in an organization, people can connect what drives them, their personal purpose, with their work, that's a fabulous, ingredient of creating human magic, which is what we did.
I like that. And the subtitle of your book, and it's worth mentioning, is The Leadership Principles for the Next Era of Capitalism. And in the book, you talk about getting away from the Milton Friedman model of 50 years ago, which was, shareholder capital versus stakeholder sharing. So do you want to expound on that, Hubert?
Yeah, I think that, last year, even though, John, I'm the eternal optimist, I had to slow down, like many of us did, right, and reflect. And I felt I had to say out loud that the world we live in is not working, right? Of course, we have a health crisis, we have an economic crisis, we have societal issues, racial issues, environmental issues, geopolitical tension. It's not working. And so then, what's the definition of madness, right? Do the same thing and hope for a different outcome. And on my FBI most wanted list, there's two people. One is Milton Friedman, shareholder primacy. And the other one is Bob McNamara, the inventor of scientific top-down management.
Well, he was once, I live in Ann Arbor, and Bob McNamara lived right around the corner from me.
Yes. Well, I'm sure he was a wonderful man, but he did some, and the exclusive and obsessive focus on purpose is poisonous. So what I'm arguing in the book is for a refoundation of business around purpose and people. So it's the idea that a business can be a force for good. You can do well by doing good, by anchoring around a noble purpose at the intersection of what the world needs, what you're passionate about, what you're uniquely good at, and how you can make money. So pursue a noble purpose, put people at the center as the source, right? And create an environment where everybody will feel they have a spring in their step and they just love what they do and do great things. Embrace all stakeholders in a declaration of interdependence. Business cannot be successful in isolation, and then treat profit as an outcome, not the goal. So it's now really easy to say, right? Hard to do. And the book is really a manual for those of us leaders who are eager to move in that direction and are looking for a bit of help.
No, it's very easy to follow. And you do something in this book at every chapter, and I've done it myself, and mine is you ask reflective questions. And when you talk about purpose, you talk about your personal, and then how do you relate it and stuff. So you make your lessons very practical. And that's one of the charms of the books, and it makes it so accessible. And I think you just described this, but I want to delve into it for a second. And it's noble purpose, which is, I think, what you were describing, the big overall view. So how does a frontline employee buy into the noble purpose, Hubert?
Yes, you have to bring it, make it very concrete, because if you and I, so Best Buy's new purpose was enrich lives through technology by addressing key human needs. If you and I walk into a Best Buy store and we tell the team, right, very exciting, we have a new purpose, right? It's to enrich lives through technology. People are going to look at us and say, we have no idea what you just said, right?
Exactly.
And so there's really work to do. And sometimes that's a step that companies are missing. They define their purpose and then they rush to communicate. We had a team that really made it come to life. And so one day, on a Saturday, we closed the stores for a few hours.
On a Saturday.
Saturday morning. We started early, right? Because we're retailers. So, you know. And no video, no PowerPoint presentation, no message from the CEO, right? None of that. But we got into small groups of associates, and I was in one of the stores. And we were asked to do two things. One is, again, share with each other your life story. And I was paired with a young woman. She had been in an abusive relationship with an ex-boyfriend. She had been homeless, and Best Buy was her family. So all of a sudden, I don't really see her as an associate, as an employee, but I see her as a human being. Second, share with each other the story of an inspiring friend in your life. Hopefully, everybody's got one. For me, it's my older brother, Philip, is just wonderful. And then what we said is, look, what we're trying to do, which, by the way, we already do when we are at our best, is to treat each other and the customers as human beings and treat each other and the customers not as walking wallets, but as an inspiring friend, which is the very concrete translation of enriching lives through technology. And now, of course, John, every one of us can write themselves into that story. I know how to be human. That's who I am, right? And then I can be an inspiring friend. Now, the challenge then is to create an environment, and that's the key role of leadership, where after this training, you don't go back to a poisonous environment, but you go back to an environment that has been architected, that has been designed to be able to unleash that human magic. And that's what the book is full. That's part 3 of the book. It's how do you do this concretely? How do you allow people to connect their dreams? How do you enable truly genuine human connections? How do you build autonomy? How do you allow people to grow in the company? And that's the key role of leadership is not to come up with a strategy. That's simple. I mean, you need to do it, but it's really to be the gardener so that the seeds, can grow.
Do you find if you look at large retail organizations as Best Buy, and people in the organization, what percent do you think are looking to make it a long-term career and move up? And how do you identify them, and how do you provide for them or provide opportunities for them? So
we've been able to dramatically reduce the turnover, in the stores. At headquarters, the turnover is like 7 or 8%, something like that. In the stores, it was 60, 70%. I think we've brought it down. Even it's continuing to go down, even in the Great Resignation, right?
And I
think it's around 30% or something like this. And
for retail, that's extraordinary.
Especially because a lot of the associates we have are college students, and so after 4 years, many of them The key is actually size doesn't matter. I don't care whether you're a leader of a 100-person organization, 1,000, 10,000, 100,000, 1 million, because it's one individual at a time. And so the key is to connect with each individual on your team. To make it concrete, I had a store general manager, not me, but we had a store general manager in Boston. He would ask every one of the associates in his store, what is your dream? At Best Buy, outside of Best Buy, what is your dream? Okay, write it down in the break room. And then my job is to help you achieve your dream. And if you can make everybody feel that, they're special, that you know them, it's the idea of I am seen, therefore I am. It's not I think, therefore I am. It's I am seen, therefore I am. Big difference. And invest in them. And it's individualized, individual conversations, individualized coaching. So it's one, and the turnaround, one day somebody asked me, so did you have to change out all of the employees? No. We had turnover, but we created an environment where good people wanted to do amazing things for customers and for each other. That was honest.
Well, which gets back to your original point is the things that we could fix, and you had the people on the ground to fix them. And so many turnaround efforts, I think, from afar, I certainly saw this with, and you quote him in the book, Alan Mulally, the turnaround was people already in the positions and doing it, and provide them an avenue. So
we love
that's
that.
great.
I don't know. The greatest.
Yeah. Yeah. So you talked about leadership characteristics and things like that. And one of them, it's gotten it's becoming more prevalent to speak about now, but it's vulnerability, which I don't know. I used to say the one thing they don't teach in business school, maybe you're wrong, maybe you're going to blow, is humility, but the other is vulnerability. So tell me about, why is vulnerability important for senior people, senior leaders? So.
Yes, it took me so long to understand this because I was suffering from a disease, John, which was the quest for perfection.
I
thought I needed to be perfect, and that admitting a weakness, admitting that I didn't know, was the weakness. And I learned from a friend of mine who's a monk that the quest for perfection is evil.
Good.
And that if you're going to try to be perfect, you're never going to be happy, because here's the scoop. Maybe you're perfect, John, but the rest of us not. Right. And then you're going to be always unhappy with your coworkers, because guess what? They're human beings. And so you're going to be constantly looking for, these defects, and you're going to be unhappy. Everything changes when you, our good friend, Marshall Goldsmith, was my coach for so many years, helped me tremendously with this, with the idea of feet forward, and be able to say, based on, hearing back from your team, this is what I want to work on. I need help. Oh, and by the way, John, in this new world we're in with COVID and everything that's going on, it's become super easy to say, my name is Hubert and I don't know, because that's the truth. I don't know. Did you have the manual for how to deal with COVID, John?
No, I did not.
Right? Or the manual to deal with back to the office, right? Yeah. And so if we say, my name is Hubert and I need help, and we're going to figure this out together, then we can support each other. And then it's extraordinary when you ask for help, you get it.
Yeah. I'm glad you link this too, because I've always talked about vulnerability and stuff as admitting not simply what you don't know, but I feel, and you're just validating this, the team saying, I know, I have confidence in you that together we can do this. Am I correct in interpreting it that way?
Yeah, and sometimes people are concerned to admit that they don't know, and they're going to say being vulnerable is going to undermine their authority. That can be further from the truth. Now, if you're like a complete moron and you know nothing about nothing, that's not going to be helpful, right? But let's assume that you've been picked for a job for a reason, so you're qualified for the job, and yet you're going to need help, and people are going to respect you for that, and they're going to love you for this, because the only thing that's real in life is human connections, and another word for that is love. You cannot love somebody who is perfect. You can admire them, but you cannot love them. And so, magical things happen when you have human beings working together, because they love working together. They love doing great things for each other and for customers. I love Khalil Gibran, the Lebanese poet, who said, work is love made visible.
Love is work made visible. Well, that's powerful. So, and I think that's what is the critical thing. And you said, if I'm an employee at Best Buy and I'm serving my customers, and there was a recent interview you did for Harvard Business Review where you spoke about the magic and people working together and enabling. And you, as the senior leader, what you're challenging your leaders to do is, let's unleash it. Let's open it up. I think the title of the show was Empowering the Magic, which is within all of us. Am I correct in that? So,
yeah, and it's at some point in the journey, I felt that people on the front line were doing such extraordinary things. There's a great story in the book about a couple of associates who did a surgical procedure on a sick dinosaur that a kid
dinosaur doctor, yeah.
Dinosaur doctors, and there was no instruction, there was no standard operating procedure on how to make customers happy, right? It was They found it in their heart. And so there was a moment where performance started to really accelerate. And it was because of the extraordinary behaviors of the frontliners and everybody at the company, whether you were working on the site or in supply chain. And I felt at that moment I had lost control of the operation, John, which was the definition of success in many ways.
So that led you to the next chapter of your life, and where you are now. But talk about your leaving and who replaced you. So I think
yeah, so that's a key responsibility we have, right, John? And as a leader, is to develop our potential successors, and then pass the baton and make sure that after we leave, performance continues to improve. And I'm so proud that performance at Best Buy has continued to improve and is continuing to improve. So Corey Barry, who is an amazing woman, an amazing leader, became CEO in June of 2019, and then I stayed 1 year as the executive chairman, and then I passed the baton to another chair, and it's done. And that's the greatest joy, right? Because I worked with Corey for many years. I think it's fair to say I invested in her development, and seeing her do her magic, makes me incredibly happy. And same with the board. We have an amazing board. And so that's a treat.
So much of leadership is the exiting. It's not so much of the exiting per se. It's the legacy.
The legacy.
And the turnaround that you help foster, that is your legacy. So great. So I want to switch now, and we're coming to close, but I want to touch on where you are now teaching. So you're at one of the world's greatest business schools, Harvard Business Review, or Harvard Business School, excuse me. So what are you learning from them? So
yeah, we've just had our last class this morning in the first year of the MBA program. And we celebrated what Johnny had been. What I'm learning from them first, because of them, I have to learn how to teach. So that's a gift, right? Because teaching is and then what I'm learning from them is that they have this wonderful desire to make a difference in the world, and they're looking for their personal purpose, how it can connect with their life journey. And so I'm so inspired by not only the head. I mean, these are smart students, of course, but I'm very inspired by their heart and their soul. And a lot of what we've worked on together, I was teaching marketing, but it was really general management, right? Is the importance of leading with all of our body parts, not only our head, but also our heart, our soul, our guts, our ears, and our eyes. And the importance to be a purposeful leader. And I'm really inspired by the caliber, the wonderful humanity of these future leaders. So
that's great. I don't want to let this go, because at the end of this wonderful book, Heart of Business, is I think the last couple of chapters, but particularly the last one, are almost handbooks. It's the how, very specific things, and you talk about some action steps for leaders. And so, what led you to put that in there, Hubert?
Because I feel that yes, we have this urgent need for this refoundation of business around purpose and humanity, people. Now, some people say, well, we need structural reforms, right? We need the proxy advisors, we need the government, and maybe we need to have some changes, in particular around, making sure that companies pay for the damages they do to the planet, right? So that would be good. But I think I like also the idea of all of us, wherever we are, can make a difference and can change the world. And this is a book for leaders with the recognition that all of us are leaders. At the minimum, we're leaders of our own lives. And so whether you are a leader within an organization, and I don't care what level, whether you sit on a board, whether you're an investor, whether you're a regulator, whether you're an educator, all of us can do our best to create this future that does not exist yet, but that needs to be better. And so, yes, the conclusion is a call for action for everyone in their different capacities. And that's hopefully, we all feel that, yes, there is challenges, but this can also be a very energizing time where, we rise and we be the best version of ourselves to create this future that needs to be better.
Well, the heart of business certainly does that. But before you leave, I always ask every guest a story of grace, and I know you have something to share with us, Hubert. So,
Yeah, and congratulations, John, for all of the work you've done on that and how you've helped us spell out grace, right? Generosity, respect, action, compassion, and energy. So there's so many, right? So the one that comes to mind, John, is Cami, head of HR at Best Buy. One day, she shared with everybody at the company that for years she had suffered from depression following the deaths of her two parents. And, who, as a senior executive at a Fortune 100 company, admits that they're suffering from depression, right? Aren't we supposed to be superheroes and all powerful and know it all and so forth? By doing this, what Cami did is she taught us compassion. She taught us vulnerability. And she taught us empathy. She got hundreds of emails from employees, and then, of course, hundreds or thousands of contacts when she was visiting stores, thanking her for drawing the attention to the fact all of us are struggling. That was before COVID. During COVID, 80% of us are struggling. Yeah. That's not to say 100%. And being able to say, no, I'm struggling, and I'm doing my best. I mean, she helped so many. There was a woman who told her that she had decided to consult with a therapist as she was having suicidal, thoughts. And so that changed the conversation. That made the place, we were making the place human. She played a huge role in teaching us vulnerability and empathy, which are words that we didn't use 5 years ago. We were not using these words in the corporate world. No. Now, this is essential. So thank you, Cami.
No, well, great. Hubert, this is a wonderful story. Thank you, Heart of Business. How can people find you?
There's a few ways. One way is actually my website. So it's my first name, my last name, hubertjoly.org. And there's a few cool things on the site. There's a business electrocardiogram where you can, in 20 or 30 questions, you can assess the health of the heart of your business. There's also a purposeometer where you can assess, how good of a job you've done as a team, as a company, to spell out your corporate purpose. And there's a ton of resources. So that's one place. And of course, LinkedIn is the other place that you can find it.
Hubert, we will put that note in the notes. It has been my honor to have you on the show. And thank you for joining. And with that, we will close out. So